She curled into the fetal position with both her hands on her wound, clenching her eyes shut as she took shallow breaths to ease the pain pulsating in her abdomen. But it did little good to stop the bleeding, and her entire body was beginning to be soaked in the growing crimson red puddle. Tears began to well up in her eyes, but it wasn't due to the pain. Well, not entirely. There was no hope she would survive this. No matter how much noise she could have made, no one would have come to her aid. She knew this all too well. Her body trembled weakly, her body beginning to feel colder and colder throughout the time she was losing more and more blood. This was it. Soon enough, the only thing she'd see was the Reaper. She closed her eyes and began relaxing her tensed and trembling muscles. Her ear twitched at the new and sudden sound, and she slowly fluttered her eyes open. Through her blurry vision, she found a small animal stood in front of her head, moving side to side, as though assessing her state urgently. It was the cat from earlier, the one that hid in the darkened corner of the alleyway and evaded detection from him. You must have known he was bad news, didn't you? She managed out, but began coughing harshly, her mouth filling up with the warm metal-tasting liquid. Wincing, she barely processed the other high-pitched mew it elicited again. There's nothing else you can do to help me. She breathed in and out a bit more, but that did her no favors. Thank you for staying with me, for not leaving me alone, even when it does you no benefit. She winced again. Then she took her bloodied hand off her completely blood-soaked jacket and shakily reached it out towards the cat to pet it one last time. It wrenched its head away, though, and was looking straight at the blood dripping away from her hands. She held it there for a moment before she slowly retracted her hand back. Of course, he wouldn't want to get blood on its fur. Of course. She bit her lip to distract herself from the pain in her heart and closed her eyes from the cat. But not even a moment had passed without her suddenly feeling a large furry body cramming itself into the crook of her neck. Her eyes opened, and she found the cat had walked into the growing puddle of blood to lay next to her. Despite spilling blood and losing all warmth and feeling in her body, she didn't imagine the emotion of elation and happiness swelling within her, and her hand immediately came up and clasped itself onto the animal's shoulders and spine, and hugged her with a desperate gratitude. And it thankfully didn't pull away. It shifted under her hold, but actually curled up closer to her. Thank you. Thank you. You're a good cat. Not mine, but you're just special, she weakly whispered, but knew well the animal heard her. It inched closer, and she felt its faint breath fan the side of her face. Content, she closed her eyes and prepared to meet the abyssal void. She partially focused on the sudden new splatters falling onto her face, and she listlessly wondered if it started raining. She always enjoyed the gloomy weather, always making her feel as though it reflected her emotions on the daily. And even then, she wouldn't have the desire to go out and socialize with people. Just her, the rhythmic rain, and whatever passion to occupy her to pass the enjoyable, peaceful afternoon. And suddenly, she was there, in her brightly lit room, the overcast gloomy sky pouring with persistent water, a steaming cup of hot cocoa on her desk next to her favorite book, and the soothing smell of blueberry pancakes in the air, letting her know her mother was busying herself downstairs with making breakfast for the whole family. And not only that, but she only made pancakes for one occasion specifically. Her uncle was home. She rushed out of the doorway and sprinted straight towards the kitchen, following the sound of her mother singing an unfamiliar yet soothing melody. Oh, that's right. That song was